The day a programmer fell asleep and caused the biggest internet blackout. On July 25, 1997, the internet still made that unforgettable dial-up connection noise. And back then, for millions of people, being online meant one thing: using AOL. On that summer Friday, however, something unthinkable happened. The largest internet provider in the United States, AOL, simply went offline, and it remained so for more than 19 hours. This is the storyline of one of the biggest internet outages of the 1990s, and how it revealed the limitations of the digital infrastructure of an era that was still learning how to be online. To understand the impact, we need to go back in time. In 1997, the internet was not yet what we know today. Social networks as we know them now did not exist. There was no streaming, and Google was still in its infancy. The connection was dial-up, slow, and competed for space with the home telephone line. And at the center of this revolution was AOL. Founded in 1985, the company grew explosively in the 1990s. Their free CDs arrived in the mail, promising 100 free hours. Their interface was simple, user-friendly, and organized into chat rooms, emails, and forums. For many Americans, AOL was the internet. In 1997, the company had over 10 million subscribers. It was a true digital empire, until the collapse came. On the morning of July 25, 1997, users began to notice something strange. Connection attempts failed. Emails wouldn't send. Chat rooms wouldn't load. At first, it seemed like an isolated problem, but the hours passed, and nothing came back. AOL was completely offline. What made the situation even more serious was the context. The company had already been facing overload problems in the previous months. Growing popularity had pushed its servers beyond their limits. According to reports at the time, the blackout was caused by a technical failure in one of the company's main data centers. Critical authentication and routing systems were affected, preventing users from accessing their accounts. Without sufficient redundancy and with an infrastructure that was still immature, the company simply could not restore service quickly. The result? More than 19 hours offline. In 1997, that was a digital eternity. Today, when a service goes down, we turn to Twitter to complain. In 1997, people called support, and AOL's phone lines became congested almost immediately. Thousands of frustrated users were trying to understand what was happening. Many depended on AOL for work, communication, and emerging online businesses. Companies that were just starting to operate online were paralyzed. Journalists lost access to sources. Ordinary users were left digitally isolated. It was a brutal reminder that the promise of permanent connectivity was still fragile. The fall wasn't just technical, it was strategic. AOL was already facing criticism for stability issues. In 1996, it had suffered another significant collapse due to an excess of users after offering unlimited plans. The July 1997 outage reignited doubts. Was the company growing too fast? Was its infrastructure truly robust? Was its business model sustainable? The press exploited the episode as a symbol of an internet that was still in its testing phase, despite market enthusiasm. Still, AOL was too big to fail completely. Although the full technical details were never widely disclosed, analysts pointed to some key factors. 1. Excessive reliance on centralized infrastructure. 2. Limited redundancy systems. 3. Explosive growth without proportional expansion of servers. 4. Failures in internal authentication systems. Today, technology companies utilize multiple globally distributed data centers, automatic backups, and highly resilient cloud architectures. But in 1997, this was still far from standard. The commercial internet was just over a decade old. It was new territory. Interestingly, the July 25th outage helped accelerate important changes. Companies began investing more heavily in redundancy. providers realized that stability was as important as growth. The concept of uptime became a strategic priority. The AOL outage became a case study in scalability and infrastructure. It exposed the vulnerability of a system that millions had come to consider indispensable. Despite the embarrassment, AOL continued to grow. In the early 2000s, it was involved in one of the largest corporate mergers in history when it joined forces with Time Warner in a billion-dollar deal. The merger, however, would face its own problems, but that's another story. Over time, AOL lost ground to broadband, new browsers, and emerging tech giants. But in 1997, it was the beating heart of the American internet, and when it stopped, the entire digital nation felt it. The AOL blackout on July 25, 1997, may seem small compared to today's gigantic infrastructures, but at that moment, it was a wake-up call. It showed that the internet was still fragile, that growth without planning has a cost, and that depending on a single access point can be risky. Did you enjoy this type of video and content? Then thank you for leaving a like, comment, and share with your friends. Also, post the link to this video on your Facebook and Instagram story. Copy it to your WhatsApp status as well. This will encourage the revival of this channel and is totally free for you. Consider also subscribing to this channel. Thank you very much for your participation. God bless your life in Christ Jesus.